Ever try to get your man to talk about personal issues? You know it's not easy, especially when you're talking about today's topic. Male hair loss affects 60 million guys. Women too. Dr. David Samadi, a member of our Fox News Medical Aid team, a Fox News contributor, has been discussing a lot of issues that affect men. This is one I had actually asked you about for women as well. Tell us what some of the major types of hair loss are and maybe what causes it.
Well, the most common one is what we call a male pattern and bald pattern, or androgenic alopecia. That's 95% of the hair loss, and the cause of it is mostly genetics. Now, a similar thing happens also in women, and genetics plays a big role. So that's majority of them. But then there are also 5% of them that's caused the aretha alopecia, and that has to do a lot with stress, illness, medical diseases, and chemotherapy, and etc. But genetics plays a huge role in this.
Father's mother, mother's father, you never know where it comes from.
Good point. We always thought it was from the mother's side. Now new studies show that it's polygenic. It's from both parents. So if you have the gene in the family, now you most likely will be affected. It can skip a generation, but that's going to be there.
Okay, so both sides potentially.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's interesting is 30% of men by the age of 30 can actually have hair loss, and by the age of 50, it could be about 50%. So it affects both men and women, but we're going to be talking about mostly men here and their hormonal issues.
Let's talk about some of the types of hair loss and the symptoms.
Okay, so when we talk about androgenic ones, or the male pattern baldness, it really starts from receding the hairline. It starts going toward the temples, and the most severe case is the horseshoe pattern. That's when the whole top area is gone. When you talk about the aretha alopecia, or the stress factor, those are the patchy areas that are temporary loss and they're reversible. Those are easier to really treat.
Okay, in addition to the genetic component, you say poor nutrition, certain illnesses, you mentioned stress, that's a huge one. Are there medications that men may be taking that can cause hair loss?
Certain medications you want to watch out for, usually antihypertensive medications, beta blockers. Some cholesterol medication can actually cause that. I found that medications like Coumadin, which was quite interesting, or even Zantac, can actually cause it. So you want to look out for those. And if you take any of these medications and you see a quick hair loss, you want to make sure that you talk to your physicians.
Interesting point you were telling me about on Proscar, which a lot of men take.
Absolutely. You know, one of the main causes of this is the male hormone testosterone. The scalp, makes this 5-alpha reductase. It's an enzyme that converts the testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. If you look at the animation, you can see the dihydrotestosterone, or the active form of testosterone, actually affect the follicles. And over time, it can actually shrink the base of this hair and result in the hair loss. So DHT, or the active form of testosterone, is the main reason why men actually lose their hair.
And Proscar has Propecia in it,
now,
which is a treatment for hair loss?
As a urologist, I use a lot of Proscar because what it does, it prevents that enzyme. So it prevents the testosterone to active testosterone, and we found out that men actually end up having hair growth. A smaller portion of Proscar is called Propecia. And Propecia is 1 milligram. So the main take-home message is that if you're taking those medications, it can affect your PSA or...
So when you get tested for your PSA, if you're on that because of the Propecia, you may actually affect the results. You need to disclose to your doctor if you're on it, or discuss it with your doctor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Let's move on. The animation's interesting. I have no idea what this is, but if that's what's going on inside my scalp, I'm very concerned. As you show us that, doctor, and tell us what it is. Tell us about treatments. People want to know what to do.
Well, this is actually an interesting demo. This is by 3B Scientific Company. As you can see, it's amazing. Here's the scalp. This is the hair. You have all these sebaceous glands. Usually Rogaine, which is a topical one, affects the scalp, and that can increase the blood flow to the hair. Propecia, that you talked about, actually works on the follicles, and it inhibits the DHT hormone, and that can affect the hair growth. Ultimately, if none of these medications work, you have hair transplant and laser and you should see your doctor for further treatment.
Minoxidil is another one. That's the scariest hair follicle I've ever imagined. Doctor, this was great information, and women should also talk to their doctor if they're on those medications, as you discussed. It could be affecting their hair loss, too. Thank you so much. This is a great series, and we're glad everyone is tuning in. If you have questions about your health or other men's health issues, email us, menshealth@foxnews.com. Dr. Smati will be back next week. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much for